Hello and welcome to this speech. The topic today is using machine learning to accelerate digital transformation. My name is Nadeem Moghul, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this presentation today. And I'm very, very thankful to Ideas Conference for have given us an opportunity to bring to you this very, very important topic in the days that we are living in. In fact, there's so much material to cover that we'll barely have the time to scratch the surface here on this call. So I invite you to follow the links provided at the end of this conversation to our website, where we'll have links to a more detailed version of this of the same conversation here, of the same topic, using machine learning to accelerate digital transformation. So with that, let's go ahead and get started. So we'll start off by talking about what is digital transformation, and then we'll go about what is machine learning. And then how do you marry the two concepts together? The importance of machine learning in digital transformation. And then finally, we'll get to the machine learning driven transformation in critical business areas. As you can well imagine, there's a lot to cover. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start off by some definitions. What is digital transformation? Digital transformation is the rewiring of an organization with the goal of creating value by continuously deploying tech at scale. This is according to McKinsey and Company. Okay, great definition. Let's go ahead, let's keep going. According to IBM, digital transformation means adopting digital first customer, business partner, and employee experiences. Another good, decent definition. Let's keep going. Digital transformation, this is according to Accenture. Digital transformation is a process by which companies embed technologies across their businesses to drive fundamental change. Let's go ahead and highlight some of the key points of these three definitions: rewiring, creating value, adopting digital first, to drive fundamental change. We can see a theme emerging here, right? And ultimately, we are talking about continuously deploying technology. So, the whole idea of this is, how do you bring technology into play here when we are talking about changing business processes to adapt to all the changes that we have been going through? So, no more paper, no more processes which are archaic and old technology based, old school based. Let's try to modernize all aspects of our operations. So digital transformation is the underpinnings that allows to make it all happen. Let's continue with this presentation. What are the benefits of using machine learning for digital transformation? So given that we are addressing here the experts in the area, let's go ahead and jump right into it. First of all, digitization and data crunching. We can well imagine that we live in the day of data when there's extensive amount of information coming from all sources, all getting into our databases, and we need to find a way to 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 accept that, to go through that, and to derive intelligent information out of that. A lot of crunching is required. This is the perfect tool that allows us to make that happen. The improvement in operational efficiency, this is the ultimate aim. Whatever we do, we cannot just be operating in a silo, in a vacuum without any objective. This is really truly our objective: improvement in operational efficiency and decision making. And then product personalization. Imagine the fact that it's not no longer one product shipped to you and now you're using it, and there's one version, one product made the same way for all the customers. We are different, our needs are different, and therefore we now have the possibility for the companies to personalize the product for me and for you and for somebody else based on a very specific requirement. Enhanced customer experience, of course. This is what the ultimately results in, and automated process management. Anomaly detection, another huge area where machine learning is being used pretty extensively. Proactive resolution. Imagine if you have a phone service and the phone service is down, before you could pick up the phone or go to the website or launch their platform trying to report a problem, they already know that there's an outage in your area and that they know what the root cause is and they know what the resolution time frame is. Imagine the quality of our service, the quality of our interaction with this carrier. So it's just like that, whether it's a technician is going to be late in arriving at your house, or the raw material is not available, or the product is going to be delayed, whatever the challenges are, the fact is businesses go through hiccups and challenges all the time. But if they are able to be proactive in not just with resolving the problem, but reaching out to the customers to keep them in the loop, that's a huge plus that prior to this automation and machine learning, it was very difficult to do it at a personal level. Point number six, trend analysis. Clearly, human minds can look at the piece of data and try to determine at a very high level, are we trending up, trending down, what's working, what's not working. Our minds can adapt, our minds can do that. But this technology can now allow us to do this at a many different levels, different dimensions, and accelerated innovation and competitive advantage. And then finally, discovery of new insights and patterns in data. So these are some of the benefits of using machine learning for digital transformation. Let's look at some use cases of where we can use ML in the digital transformation. Customer segmentation and targeted marketing, predictive maintenance and anomaly detection, fraud prevention and risk assessment. Number four, natural language processing for chatbot and virtual assistants. Number five, image recognition and computer vision for product inspection and quality control. Huge areas, right? Lots of application in these areas. If you just focus on one item on the screen, for example, predictive maintenance, which item is expected to go down and what the expected problem is going to be. Just imagine that. Imagine answer to this question, which could potentially come to you by way of this machine learning algorithms or a data modeling that you might have had. Another benefit here, targeted marketing. We have talked about the fact earlier that we've got access to so much data, so much information now that we can really personalize whatever we are building for our customers. Imagine being able to reach out to them based exactly on their purchasing habits, what they bought from us in the past, what they could potentially get again in the future. If they bought once from us, of course they trust us. What more could they offer? Again, if the model could give us a good indication of that, we could then act upon whatever the possibilities are, right? So that's what this whole technology is about to to allow us to take the right decisions. So implementing machine learning for digital transformation. What are the processes? What are the steps? Number one, identify business goals and objectives. Clearly, nothing starts off without you defining your goal. What are you setting out to do, and why is that, and what the success looks like? You must have a real precise definition of that. Everybody must be on the same page. Define your objectives. Number two, aggregate all issues. Create cohesive strategy. Again, everyone must be on the same page, not just you within the organization, but all your vendors, your partners, everyone must be aligned with your objectives. Number three, gather and prepare data for your modeling. Number four, select and train appropriate algorithms. Five, integrate the models into the business processes. So this is where your testing comes in. You take the data, you come up with a model, and then you apply the model into your business processes to see if it's working or if there's any exceptions to be made, right? So again, we can do the testing based on the data itself, but it's a lot better for us to maybe come up with different models, test them all in parallel using some version of A/B testing in production, in the field, just to look at the efficacy of these models. Test, fix, redesign, and redeploy, just standard operating procedures, right? And then number seven, monitor and evaluate your model performance. So that's really how you implement at a very high level the machine learning algorithm, machine learning modeling processes for your digital transformation. Let's keep going. What are the challenges that companies face in this journey? Number one, limited visibility of processes. So we just said in the previous slide that the first thing you must do is define your goals and objectives, and you must know exactly what you're setting out to do. So, what are we setting out to do? How do you get this information without having an extensive knowledge of what the company does, how they operate, what the processes are, what all the different teams are involved in, whether it's a design or production or support or quality or customer service or any component within an organization? We must know what each team does. We must know what inputs they get from the other teams. We must know what they produce. We must know who the downstream processes go to. We must have a complete visibility, and only then we'll be able to identify the processes that are potentially ripe for machine learning process changes. So, number one challenge that companies face, that they have limited visibility to all the processes. They don't usually take and go through an extensive study that allows them to develop this visibility. Number two, skewed view of problem area. So if you were to ask different executives and different teams within an organization, they're likely to give you different results that, hey, the problem is not in my area, but it's in shipping. They ship out wrong products. And the shipping will say that the database that gives us the shipping address and information is not all sometimes correct. And customer service might say that the addresses are incorrect because we have got older addresses in the systems as well. So problems obviously it's not a single dimensional issue that we could just pinpoint at one team and say you're responsible for this problem and this is how we'll solve it. In any growing dynamic organization, there could be any number of areas where potentially things could be falling through the crack. Our idea is that once we start using some of the principles that we're highlighting here in this conversation, we could try to limit some of those problems. We could try to even eliminate, hopefully, some of these challenges. So, the second challenge that we just talked about is that is a skewed version, skewed opinion of the problem areas. Depends on who you ask, you might get perhaps a different answer. Similarly, skewed view of challenges and opportunities. Again, depends on who you ask. Number four, the data quality and data availability. The data quality is a huge issue, and anyone who's worked as a data scientist, you know that for you to your tool is the knowledge that you've got and the programs that you've got, but ultimately you're relying upon a clean data that's usable, that gives you the right cross section, that's a good representation of your sample space. How do you do that? If the data is not complete, what do you do? Do you use your own methodologies to some feature engineering to complete the data? How do you bracket your data? All of these questions that the data scientists must be able to answer before they put their hands on the keyboard. So again, huge challenge for many organizations that we have worked with, that the data quality is not up there, data availability is not up there. Usually different systems have got the data that the information comes from. They may not all speak at the same time. So there's a lot of planning must take place before we can get on some of these important decisions. Let's keep going. Another challenge, number five, the model interpretability and explainability. How does the model work? How did the model interpret based on what information it had? We must be able to explain in plain English or in any language the outcome that the model is recommending. Similarly, how do you explain this to your executive management, especially if the model gives you some recommendation on making changes to your product design, product feature selection, packaging, the customer demographics, or any of those things? What's the basis of that? We must be able to understand, we must be able to interpret, and therefore, based on that information, we must then be able to make some operational changes to incorporate some of these recommendations. Number six, model interoperability. The model that we have done for problem A, can the same model work for problem B or for problem C? If not, what changes must we make to make the model work? Number seven, there is a bias. We must acknowledge that there is a bias, and bias simply cannot be eliminated. Without a bias, you've got just a very straightforward answer to a very straightforward question. The reason why we must have some width, some range within our analysis is that we cannot just test our data based on one specific data set. It must be a uniform, it must be broad enough to take any data set and give us an accepted result. So bias is a natural element that allows to make that happen. But bias, when coupled with fairness, that's what we must be able to guard against. So this is again when the system could spit out whatever the system does, but at a human level, we must be willing to stand up, take a look at that, and realize and decide: do we act upon it, or do we make some changes? And similar to that is the ethical consideration and responsible AI. So, how do you overcome these challenges? Let's develop some of the best practices. Employ data governance and quality practices. Number two, use explainable AI techniques. We just alluded to this point. Use explainable AI techniques and tools. Number three, implement bias mitigation strategies. This is not something the program can do for you. This is where we need humans to look at the data, to look at the results, and decide if the recommendation of for the model's correlation the scores are very high. Is that something we should act upon, or if there is maybe perhaps we should revisit some of the questions that we try to ask the model. Number four, adopt ethical principles and guidelines for AI development and deployment. Clearly, huge area that we must be aware of this, and we must be willing to address it and be very proactive. Here are some of the real world examples of successful transformation. And my apologies again for the speed. We are really breezing through this presentation, but we do have a detailed version of this presentation, and we would welcome you to check out the link on our website to take a look at the detailed version, where we can be in a much slower manner with a lot more detail and context. We're going through the similar bullet points. So let's take a look at some of the real world examples of very successful transformation that some companies have gone through. So let's see. Amazon. Amazon's recommendation engine and personalized shopping experience. This is based on if you bought item A, you might be interested in item B, C, and D. So one example of this would be if you have bought an iPhone, it'll give you the case for an iPhone, the some accessories for the iPhone, the charger for the iPhone, or if you bought a television set, it'll give you the option for maybe the mounting brackets on the wall, or the cables that go with the TV, or even a DVD player, if they even sell DVD players or not. But so if effectively, if you bought A, you might be interested in items B, C, or D, and items are somehow related to each other. This is again based on a huge system that based on what other people have bought in the same ticket or on different tickets. So Amazon can use all that information and very successfully make you some recommendations. Let's keep going. Google self-driving car project and predictive maintenance algorithms. Many companies all over the world have deployed what Google's algorithm effectively to for their fleet management systems, just to determine the health of the vehicles which are operating on the road. They want to be a step ahead. They want to send not every car for a maintenance every week, but they must know that with some relative confidence level, which car is likely to break, or which van or which truck is likely to break, and what the repair might be. Caesars Entertainments, development and simultaneous rollout of the entire back office. This was a huge project that took them about a good part of a year to implement about 4 or 5 years ago, and they really had to make all the changes at the same time, including the patients, including the customers demographic, their historic interactions with the organization, their habits, their preferences, along with the product information, along with the room availability information, and room availability not just for their own platform, but also as they make the information available to the other third-party travel websites. This included things down to the level of your the badges for the parking lot and the daily badges and your the room service and the kind of maintenance required for everything, every part of the equipment deployed throughout the hotel. So this was a huge undertaking, huge project. Multiple teams were, of course, involved in developing different aspects of it, and data and data science algorithms were almost a principal component in their success. Let's keep going. Netflix. Netflix content recommendation system and personalized viewing experiences. You must have seen this in action that when you're finished watching a movie or a television show, it makes recommendations, and more often than not, those are very decent recommendation based very closely to the item you just finished watching. And that again comes from this extensive modeling that we're just talking about here. Domino's order and demand prediction processes. Again, example of a very successful transformational project and based on AI and machine learning. Facebook's facial recognition technology and image tagging. And finally, Alibaba's fraud detection and risk assessment systems. Now, these are just seven of the hundreds, if not thousands, of examples that exist out there. And as we continue our journey in this direction, we must be willing to take the time to study these all of these projects, all of these implementations, just to get the lessons learned. We must know what approach they took. We must know what how they solved the problem. We must know how they identified the problem in the first place, what approach they took, and how they went about. And clearly, even though we are talking about the huge success in all these different areas, we can be certain that they did not succeed in the first round. They probably implemented a small phase of it, probably failed. Most likely they failed, tried it again. Finally, they got it right. Just like that, we cannot expect to hit gold on the first time, but we got to be willing to make mistakes and continue going. So, what's the future of machine learning in digital transformation? Emerging trends. Of course, we are aware of Chat GPT, for example, or generative AI modeling. How does it help? What kinds of business processes it's able to take over? Continued integration of ML into various aspects of business. We'll just have an example of this in the next couple of slides. Increasing importance of ethical and responsible AI practices. We mentioned this item multiple times in our presentation, and this we really want to underline this every time it comes up, that ethics and the right implementation, being responsible in what we implement, what we design, there's got to be the hallmark of how we operate. Number four, the role of machine learning in shaping the future of business and society. We must be aware of the challenges, we must be aware of the opportunities, and we must be aware of how to do things the right way. So, very quickly, let's now go over some of the business areas where we can see that how machine learning could be transformative in those areas. And in the detailed presentation that we've got available on our website, we've got a much detailed version where we go into all of these areas in detail, and we look at some of the KPIs, some of the metrics on how do you track different things. Ultimately, if you look at all of these areas, if you talk to maybe the executives or the managers who work in these areas, they will tell you that we want a way to track what problems we are facing. We want to be able to track what problem we could be facing tomorrow. So again, the matrix that we are talking about, they promise to do that. They promise to at least to give you a glimpse into the future set of possibilities. Let's continue the list. Um, Product design and engineering. We don't really have to read all the business areas, but in between, in these 12 areas, this is a part of our book that we are going to be launching hopefully sometime in 2024. And is based around these 12 models. For every of these models, we've got anywhere from 5 to 7 metrics that so we're defining in detail how do you measure inventory management, for example. It's a huge area. What do you manage? How do you manage what the company does and how the company does it and how the company keeps track of what they have? Right. So let's continue. So thank you so much for your time, for your attention. I know my apologies again. We really had to speed through this presentation here, but we're delighted that you were able to join. We hope that you were able to get some useful information out of it. I'm providing my personal email. Please by all means, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have. And also the website nadeemoghul.com. It should have the links to this presentation. The shorter version of it should have the links to a more detailed version of this presentation as well. And sign up for information and updates. So we'd love to let you know when the book becomes available. Maybe come in and help us do the final edits and be a part of our team. Thank you once again for you giving us your time, for giving us an opportunity to spend some time with you, to share some insights with you. And I end with a huge thanks to the Ideas Conference team. They're remarkable people group. They always come together. They do these delightful conversations and enable them. And hats off to them. I don't know how they pull it off time and time again. But every time I've been a part of their methods, I've walked away with awe and pride. I'm proud to be a part of this team. Thanks once again.